Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Living the Sweet Life. I'm your host, TJ Sweet, and on this podcast, we are committed to helping you go from where you are to where you want to be. We're going to help you do that by helping you live with intention, reshape your mindset, and learn how to look at the world through a grateful lens. And so first of all, I want to say thank you for spending time listening to these episodes and watching these videos on YouTube. And really, I've heard so many great stories about how some of these episodes have really kind of triggered something in some of you. And that inspires me and the team here. And so we appreciate you. And as we continue to focus on Mondays, on Mindset Mondays, the goal really is to have enough to think about that you can take action but not feel overwhelmed. So that's why we only do episodes once a week, especially on Mondays, because we typically know how people feel on Mondays. It's sometimes feeling overwhelmed. Maybe it's not looking forward to the day. So we want to retell a new story about Mondays. Well, I want you to look forward to Mondays because you're committed to your growth. And maybe the thing you learn on Monday could make the rest of your week a great week or maybe a best week for you. So this week, I want to, before we dive into too much, I really kind of want to slow down and think about what kind of headspace are you in when you listen to these episodes? Where are you? What are you doing? And is that working for you? If you're in the car, do you have time to do something with the information we're talking about? Or if you're at home, are you trying to do this while you're doing other things? And this is just a moment to reflect and think about how are you taking in information and then what are you doing with it? Because as we learn and as we get more information and more knowledge, and if we don't apply it, we start to lose confidence that what we're learning or the next thing we're learning is actually going to make a difference and help us on living the life we want to be living. So my challenge to you is to slow down for a minute and think about, am I getting something from these episodes? Am I looking for an insight? And if you hear an insight in the first 5 minutes, do you stop listening after that? So just kind of check in with yourself as you listen to this podcast and as you listen to other things, because really the goal is not to listen to more. The goal is to listen to enough for you to feel inspired to do more. And this week is a really powerful and it's a meaningful week that we're going to talk about. We're going to talk a lot about mindfulness and meditation. Now, we've talked about this before, but how many of you have actually started doing and focusing on both of those things? If you look around and if you read about and if you listen to really successful people in every area of life, they talk about meditation. And so they talk about being mindful as well. And if, I was one of these people as well, where I heard about that and I heard that it was powerful and I heard that it was important, but I never did it. And then I kept searching for what are the people that are successful doing that I'm not doing. And then I found meditation again. And then I didn't do it. And then I stopped and thought, what are the people, right? Do you understand the loop that we're in right now? So how much do we have to learn that something actually may be really powerful for us before we start doing it? And maybe it's getting uncomfortable. Maybe it's actually believing that the healthy, mindful things that we're doing impact everything else in our lives. But the one thing about meditation and mindfulness that I really want to, everything that we do in the outside world starts with how much we take inventory and how much we care about and invest in ourselves. So again, we can't give away something we don't have. But what you start to recognize when you do mindfulness practices, whether it's a gratitude practice, whether it is meditation, whether it's just, I'm actually going to take you through an exercise that I do frequently. Because in a world that's moving fast and expectations that are high, slowing down and being full in your own mind, that's kind of the way I'm going to retell the story about mindfulness, because really there's so much external happening that if we don't pay attention to what's also internally happening, we could kind of react more than we respond to life. And whenever you focus on your inner self, one, it makes you feel a little bit more in control of things because you can always control how you feel and your effort and your attitude. But really eliminates distractions because you aren't so distracted by other things and other people and other thoughts and other people's behaviors because you know yourself. And we've talked about self-awareness a lot here, but whenever you can stop and think about what are actually your thoughts and your desires, instead of getting caught up and other people's thoughts and desires, you then start to put things in practice that are in alignment with your thoughts and what kind of life you want to be living instead of comparing it to the life of somebody else. And so when we talk about this gratitude practice, again, and that's probably one of the most simple but powerful things for me when I talk about my mindfulness. Mindfulness really just means being present in my own mind, being present in my own life more often. And when you stop and think about what you're grateful for and who you're grateful for, and I've talked about this circle a little bit, but I want to share this. So this mindfulness piece is, it's about focusing on who you're grateful for, helps you recognize that the purpose that you have in their life and maybe the purpose that they have in your life, but then also it leads to the effort that you want to give, that you love to give, that maybe you need to give for those people that you find purpose and gratitude in. But then when we do that again, it really points us to doing something significant. But if we understand doing something significant starts with understanding what we're grateful for and who we're grateful for in the first place, we all seek significance, but we're not sure on how to get there. So follow that. Follow the slow down, the mindfulness practice. Instead of just, I want to be grateful for things because it'll make me happier. That's a part of it. But it's not actually those things. It's recognizing that you have more than you need, that you have the people in your life that fill you up, and you have more things in your life than you even probably pay attention to. And I'm one of those people to where whenever I have more, I actually get distracted because I can't focus on the few things that I have. And how we treat the few is how we're going to treat the many. So right now, being mindful in a few moments will lead to more moments to where you're more mindful. And maybe being mindful in the next moment may be the most important and significant way that you can show up for somebody that you love and somebody that you're grateful for. So as you heard all of that, all I'm talking about is being mindful, get to know yourself better. Get to know your mind better, what triggers you, what makes you happy, what brings you joy, what brings you sadness, what haven't you healed from. Just be in the moment. Be with yourself more often. Now, one of the other things that I've talked a little bit about here is meditation. So the idea around meditation has so many stigmas and stereotypes to where people kind of think about, I got to sit there and cross my legs and sit there like this with my hands in a certain position and hum and all that. That's sure, that's a form of it. But there's so much more to the power of meditation. And one of the things I want to kind of walk through now is meditation. I'm going to try to do this breath work through meditation. And meditation is really just being still in your mind. And breathing is, luckily, it's something that our body does for us. But because if it was up to us, we'd probably forget to do it. But now I want to do something as simple as to have you recognize how much focus and attention you can give something if you have intention behind it. So when you think about breath work, you've probably heard this. I'm actually going to St. Louis here soon and going to be leading a workshop with some other team members. And one of the things we talk about with mental health and physical health and just health in general, wellness, breath work is more popular these days because there's a lot that can be said for, how sometimes before you're getting ready to do something important, people say, take a big, deep breath. All that means is give your brain more oxygen. Improve your circulation, just all these different things. So let's not overlook breath work. But if there's a thing called box breathing, I'm going to give you a modified version of it. And it's going to take some intention. And it's probably going to feel a little uncomfortable. But it has the capacity sometimes, and it only takes just a few seconds, to completely transform how you're feeling in the moment. So maybe this is one of the tools that you use to be more mindful, to be more present, is you just focus on breathing. So box breathing is it's a very simple, you can actually figure this visual of a box to where you take a breath in and you hold it. You take 4 seconds to take a breath in, and then you hold that breath for 4 seconds. And then you take 4 seconds to let that breath out. So again, counting in your brain 1, 2, 3, 4 as you let it go. And then hold your breath for 4 seconds. And then take another inhale for 4 seconds, right? So having that inhale take longer instead of just a quick sip of air. Now, this sounds simple, but when you start to do it, you start to, focus just on breathing, which is sometimes what we need to do. We need to be less distracted. Now, there's probably some of you thinking, what did he just say? So I'm actually going to do this with you. And again, there's different versions of breath work. So please note that there's more, there's experts out there who can actually teach you a little bit more about this. But this is just a simple example while we're live on a podcast. So here we go. So let's do this now. Let's practice this. Let's slow down just for a minute, no matter what you're doing. Don't close your eyes necessarily if you're driving or if you're doing something that you need to have your eyes open. But let's just breathe. Let's breathe together. So let's take a breath in for 4 seconds. So breath in for 4 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold that breath for 4 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now slowly let it out over 4 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now hold that breath out for 4 seconds. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay. Keep breathing. Start breathing again here. How'd that feel? Pay attention to how much focus you had to have there to actually probably, one, listen to my voice, or not just let the automatic nervous system kind of take over and start breathing again. Because in those moments where you're stressed, in those moments where you need to prepare, you need to slow down, you need to think differently, just a couple rounds, maybe do 3 rounds of that box breathing. You can see it doesn't take long, right? It should take us about 16 seconds all the way around. So in less than a minute, you can change the way you're thinking and change the way you're feeling. And I know that sounds like a simple example, but why can't a simple example be a powerful one? Now, the thing is about this too, is this is a great tool to have when you need it. But I'm going to push back and kind of maybe challenge you to say, maybe we always need this. Maybe we need this first thing in the morning when our cortisol is at the highest that it is, because when we first wake up, a glass of water can help your cortisol, but also this kind of breathing can help your cortisol levels reduce. And so maybe it's before you go to bed. Maybe it's whenever, right? Maybe you develop this habit, but the goal of doing something like this and the really the meaning and the power behind it isn't just doing it once. And whether it's meditation, whether it's mindfulness, whether it's a gratitude practice, whether it's box breathing, the idea around doing these things consistently, that's actually what gives you more of a sense of self. For it's not the things that we do every once in a while that actually add up to be the things that make a difference in our lives. It's the things that we're willing to do consistently. If you don't believe that, think about the things you're doing consistently now that aren't leading you to where you want to be. How are those things serving you? My guess is they're probably leading you down the path, maybe that you don't want, but you're doing them consistently. And so they're consistently not helping you lead down the path. So we all have this power to shift, but there has to be a big enough purpose or a big enough reason for this. But what if you just did this for a week? What if you did this consistently to where it was less threatening and you actually looked forward to it because it feels good? It feels good to practice gratitude. It feels good to tell people that you love them and to give effort to people that matter to you and to make other people feel seen. It feels good to do all these things. So let's do more things that actually make us feel good by giving to other people. But we have to be able to do that first. The first thing we have to do to be able to do that is to be able to give to ourselves. So mindfulness and meditation is about your ability and capacity and willingness to give to other people without feeling like you're giving too much of yourself. So do this for them. If you don't feel like you can do this, again, I just talked you through a 16-second exercise. Find that time for yourself. You deserve that. You're going to feel more mental clarity. I guarantee your stress is going to come down. This is not a hope it does. It's like physically and chemically, your stress levels, cortisol levels will come down if you do these things consistently. But you're also going to find and maybe re-find yourself. A deeper sense of self-awareness will always come when you slow down and just be with yourself more often. So now, obviously, we just kind of walk through an exercise, but I really want to challenge you because, again, the goal is not just to inform. The goal is for you to feel like you're informed enough, or maybe you're curious enough to take action. So I want you to focus this week on trying a 10 minutes, like a guided meditation. And Calm is a great app. There's multiple apps that you can go through. to do meditation. And again, if you want to do formal meditation, I would recommend looking up different ways to do that. Again, those apps are good. They kind of hold you accountable. But I also want to challenge you to maybe do some breath work like we just did, just something that works for you, something you can consistently do. But I want you to kind of slow down and focus on the insights as well. So kind of track how you're feeling before, how you're feeling after, and just know that that's really the only way that we're going to gain traction and momentum in what we're doing. So notice any insights. Do this for a week. Do this for a couple of weeks. Really kind of doing this for 2 weeks. You'll start to really understand, and that's where the journaling piece comes in. You start to really understand how much just checking in with yourself actually matters. And like I said, in the world full of external distractions, the only way that we can avoid being externally distracted is if we're internally focused. Because the fact of the matter is, the environment is either a product of you or you become a product of the environment. And the more you're in touch with yourself, the less likely you are to be influenced by other people and other things going on around you. And then whenever you have a fuller cup from things that you're doing consistently, you're more likely to give to other people. And that makes you feel like you're doing something significant. So that wraps it up for this week. I hope all of you maybe do box breathing at least one more time today. I know it's early. Depending on when you listen, the episodes come out in the morning because I have some morning listeners that love starting off the day with some growth and some encouraging words. So I appreciate all of you. And if you haven't hit subscribe, go ahead and hit that subscribe button now on Spotify and iTunes and YouTube. It helps the show. Helps our team, also gives us great feedback on what you all are listening to and what matters the most. The more listeners we get, the more opportunities we have. So we appreciate all of you doing that every week. And, I'll wrap up this episode like I do with every episode to remind you that you always have the power and the choice to reshape your mindset, live with intention, and look at the world through a grateful lens. Until the next episode, never stop.